Alright, today we're diving into something that honestly caught a lot of people off guard. The return of Dan Heng in a brand new form, and yeah, apparently he's going to be free in version 3.6 of Honkai, Star Rail. I know, right? Free 5 stars aren't something Hoyoverse just hands out like candy, especially not ones tied to major lore figures like Dan Heng. So let's unpack everything we know about his new form, why he's being free, what his kit looks like so far, and how this might shake up your teams, especially if you're building for Phanon or planning your pulls around version 3.6. 3.4 second phase banners are finally here, and you can save up to 25% on these banners at lootbar.gg. And for Firefly Rerun, you can use the code FIREFLY at checkout to get an extra 5% off. Here, I can buy 3,280 Wuneric shards for $40, while it costs $50 in-game. I just enter my UID and select a server. I received the shards right away on my account. Besides Honkai, you can also top up in Genshin, and Lootbar has over 50,000 satisfied users. I regularly use Lootbar for my giveaways, so I can personally recommend it. Use my link in the description for an additional 10% discount. First off, yes, this is a special SP form of Dan Heng, and no, it's not just a visual reskin. He's coming back under the path of preservation, which already tells you we're shifting from his previous hunt or destruction roles into something much more sustain-focused. But it's the visual redesign and kit direction that really have people talking. Dan Heng's new form was teased way earlier than most people realize. If you go back to the Amhoresis Silhouettes lineup, you'll see something interesting. On the left, there's a really clear silhouette that almost everyone correctly guessed was March 7th's new SP form. The hairstyle, posture, everything. Pretty on the nose. But right next to her, there was this dark armored figure holding a flame. Back then, it was a total mystery. People thought maybe it was a new villain, or some kind of Stellaron hunter, or even an alternate fire unit. But over time, leakers started confirming that this was supposed to be Dan Heng's SP form, at least in its earlier iteration. See, the original plan, according to leak timelines, had Dan Heng SP as a fire preservation unit, which would have lined up perfectly with the whole flame in hand visual. That silhouette made sense at the time. But here's where it gets interesting. That version of the character was scrapped. The whole fire-themed armored design was apparently abandoned during development, and Dan Heng's element was switched to physical instead. Or at least, that's what the latest kit leaks are pointing toward. So now, even though we did technically get a visual tease of him, the actual Dan Heng SP we're getting in version 3.6 won't look like that flame armor silhouette at all. Meanwhile, March 7th SP's silhouette still holds up. Her final design still carries a lot of what was shown in that teaser. But with Dan Heng, his current look is still under wraps. All we have to go off right now are a few hints from leakers saying his design has elegant Dramas-style horns, a tail, and a refined, sleek silhouette that leans heavily into his dragon ancestry. So yeah, that early silhouette tease ended up being a red herring, at least in terms of visuals. But the fact that he was included in that teaser still tells us that Dan Heng's SP form has been in the works for a long time. It just went through some pretty big creative changes before landing on the final version we'll see in 3.6. What we're actually getting is a much more refined and dragon-leaning design. Hoyoverse is leaning hard into his dragon heritage this time around. It's sleek, it's mythical, and it feels like a huge evolution of his character. Not just in visuals, but thematically. And this new look ties directly into how he plays. Dan Heng SP isn't just standing there throwing shields around like some budget Japard. Based on the current leaks, his skill targets an ally, and when activated, it actually gives that ally a dragon summon, not just a buff, a legit summon. And the coolest part? That summon interacts with the abilities of the character it's linked to. It's almost like Dan Heng is giving someone else a mini ultimate that lives on the field and supports them directly. Even better, that dragon summon, It operates on the action bar independently, which means it takes its own turns. We haven't seen that kind of thing from a preservation unit before. This opens up some wild synergy options, especially if you're the kind of player who loves to theorycraft and optimize turn orders. You're basically getting a support that hands off power to a carry and then adds another body to the turn cycle. That's huge, especially in longer battles or simulated universe builds where action economy matters. And okay, let's talk about the big headline: he's free. According to multiple leakers, including DK2 and other reliable sources, Dan Heng SP will be a free reward in version 3.6. And yeah, we've seen those same whispers circulating through Reddit and Discord for a few weeks now. But here's the kicker: this lines up with official info from Hoyoverse too. They've publicly confirmed that there's going to be another free limited 5-star character this year, aside from Archer. They didn't name who it'll be, but if you look at the timing, the build-up, and the narrative focus, Dan Heng SP is looking like the prime candidate. And it makes sense. Hoyo loves to give out free 5-stars when it aligns with story milestones or major fan engagement. We got the free Imbibitor Lunae trial arc back in Luofu, and now with Phanon and Nod Cry on the rise, bringing Dan Heng back into the spotlight as a free SP unit gives us a perfect lore hook and a generous reward for longtime players. Now, to address the obvious, some people are worried that because he's free, his kit might be mid. But based on the leaks and early community reactions, that doesn't seem to be the case. His playstyle sounds incredibly unique, especially for a preservation character, and his synergy potential with upcoming damage dealers is already making waves. And speaking of synergy, let's talk about the Phanon connection. So if you're someone who's been saving for Phanon, or if you've been watching the leaked kits coming out, you've probably already heard that Dan Heng SP might be her ideal support. His ability to grant a summon that interacts with a DPS's skill set makes him a perfect setup unit for someone like Phanon, who thrives on multi-hit interactions and layered rotations. The summon taking its own turns helps extend action sequences and reduce the strain on your other supports, kind of like how Sparkle redefines speed comps, but from a sustain angle. Some leakers even said Dan Heng is hard to replace in Phanon teams. Now, we still don't have exact details on his element. Some older leaks said he might use fire based on his preservation materials, but newer speculation, especially from the Reddit side, suggests he might actually be physical. So we're still waiting for final confirmation there. And remember, all this kit info is based on beta leaks, so things might shift by the time he actually launches. His Eidolons are also a complete mystery. But if the summon scaling and interaction depth are already strong at E0, that could mean massive scaling potential if you pick up his constellations later on. One last point, and this is more of a vibe check than hard data, but I think giving us a free version of Dan Heng, who's one of the original Astral Express crew and a core part of the lore from day one, is kind of a fan service moment in the best way. It shows that Hoyoverse isn't just pumping out hype bait characters, they're also reinvesting in their legacy cast. And honestly, I'm here for it. So yeah, that's everything we know so far about Dan Heng SP in 3.6. New form, new path, summon-based support mechanics, potential physical element, massive synergy with Phanon, and most importantly, free for everyone. Assuming the leaks are right and all signs are pointing that way, let me know what you think. Are you planning to build him as your go-to sustain? Does this change your pull plans for 3.6? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear how you're feeling about it. And if you want more updates like this, especially as we get closer to launch and more kit details leak, don't forget to subscribe. Catch you in the next one. Save up to 25% on the current banners at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description.